Good morning, third graders. I'm so sorry I missed the Zoom call yesterday. I didn't write it down and I forgot to go on my computer. So I'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. But today I have chapter 15 to read for you, The Northern Kingdom. Do you remember the map in the front of the book? If some of you have your book at home, the Northern Kingdom is the green area in the top middle, not the yellow green on the side, but the Northern Kingdom takes up that whole big part. It's huge. And they're leaving Red Riding Hood Kingdom. Remember, they stayed the night in Mother Hubbard's Shoe Hotel. So I'm going to read you the Northern Kingdom, chapter 15, and I'll do it in two sections. So you can listen to this one, and when I get halfway through, then I'll take a break and start a second video. Alex and Connor traveled into the Northern Kingdom by boat, a first for the twins. They found a fisherman just about to travel up the river into the kingdom and persuaded him to let them come aboard. Alex said they were lost, and she pretended to cry. She was very convincing, too. Connor, however, was not convinced. He tried to join in on the performance, and things just became awkward. Thankfully, the fishermen allowed them to travel with them anyway. The boat was small and flat and had just enough room for the three of them. It traveled perfectly along with the river's current, so they didn't even need to row. The twins were enjoying the ride and were able to appreciate the scenery, pointing out every riverside village they saw. It was nice to travel without fear of a wolf or an ogre running up from behind them. The Northern Kingdom was very misty and cool. The twins could tell it was the type of place that would become freezing in the winter. The kingdom was covered with grassy fields and several bodies of water. An icy, steep mountain range bordered on the north. The boat traveled along the river and poured into the Swan Lake. Swan Lake, do you remember that story? Which was appropriately inhabited by many swans and other birds. And of course, Snow White's palace. It sat on the edge of the Swan Lake. It was short but wide, with tan marble walls, dark green domes, and several colorful stained glass windows, including an especially large one shaped like a large red apple. "What's up with all the apple tributes?" Connor asked. "Didn't the apple almost kill Snow White? Why does she have it displayed every chance she gets?" "I suppose it's symbolic for the kingdom, like a cross and a church," Alex said, giving her best educated guess. There were no towns or villages near the palace. Like a cross, it had been built away from everything else and was an isolated world of its own. It seemed like such a lonely place. Alex had spent some time with her nose in the journal, rereading everything she could in case she'd missed something. She put it away and began searching the shore until she finally spotted what she was looking for. "Excuse me, sir," Alex said to the fisherman. "Can you please drop us off at that riverbank?" The fisherman steered the boat in that direction, and the twins got off and said goodbye. "Why are we getting off here?" Connor asked. "The palace is that way." "Connor, I'm tired of explaining everything to you. Here," she said. She handed him the journal. He read in the pages that she had been looking over during their trip on the boat. So now we're going to read a section of the journal. "Snow White's palace overlooks Swan Lake, and part of the lake flows into the moat circling the palace, which works to the advantage of anyone trying to sneak into the palace unnoticed. There's a hidden gate at the bottom of the palace that the moat runs through. It's right by the dungeon and is used to transport prisoners into and out of the palace by boat. It's easy to swim under the gate and then climb up onto the dock inside. The glass coffin is in a large storage room that used to be the evil queen's private chamber on the third floor. On the second floor, you'll find a large portrait of the evil queen herself, just past the grand staircase off the main entrance. The portrait is actually a secret door. A secret door. The portrait, the picture, is a secret door that leads into the chamber. Travel at night, so it's difficult for anyone to spot you in the water. But note that Swan Lake waters are very deep and can be rough after sundown. Use something as a flotation device, like a log or a piece of wood. Alex was standing next to a log that had washed ashore on the riverbed, and she gestured down to it. "See," Alex said. "Gotcha," said Connor. The twins waited for nightfall to cross the river to the palace. They carefully placed the log into the river and then entered the water themselves. It was unbearably cold. Connor made a high-pitched gasping sound as soon as he was in waist deep. "Whoa, it's so cold. I think we may be twin sisters by now," he said through rattling teeth. "I don't think I've ever been this cold in my life." "Just keep thinking that we only have 2 more items to collect, then we'll be home," Alex said, shivering herself. "Jewels from Snow White's coffin and the saber from the deepest sea." Oh, you guys must have gotten one with Mrs. Bogart in the last chapter. I'm going to have to go back and read it. Connor repeated to himself, "Jewels from Snow White's coffin and the saber from the deepest sea." "Nope, I'm still cold," he said. They held onto the log and drifted on the current to the palace. Having the log was a good call, since the water was very choppy, and the twins were getting tired just holding on to it. They probably would have drowned without it. Thank goodness for the journal, huh? The closer they got to the palace, the more soldiers they saw marching the grounds. "There are so many soldiers," Connor said through shivering teeth. "It's because of the evil queen," Alex said. "I doubt there was this much surveillance when the man from the journal was here." The twins submerged themselves completely whenever they thought a soldier might be able to see them. They steered the log into the palace's moat, careful not to make a splash or cause too many ripples. They had to circle the palace twice, but eventually they found the secret gate. They let go of the log and swam under the gate. It was much deeper than they had thought. Connor came to the surface on the other side and was gasping for air. He treaded water for a moment, waiting for his sister to surface, but she didn't. "Alex!" Connor called, looking for her in the water. "Alex!" Connor dove back under. He found Alex struggling under the gate. One of the straps on her bag had caught when she swam under the gate. It was stuck, and she desperately needed air. Connor swam down to her and yanked on her bag as hard as he could to set his sister free, but it wouldn't budge. He tugged harder, and the strap finally ripped off. He helped Alex get to the surface. She was breathing than he had ever heard her breathe before. She had been seconds away from drowning. Connor helped her over to the dock, and they both climbed up onto it. They were both so alarmed that they forgot how cold they were. "Thank you," Alex said once she caught her breath. "That was really brave of you." "I didn't have a choice," Connor said. "You had all the wishing spell items in your bag." Alex playfully hit him, and then they quietly laughed. They were drenched, and their jaws were chattering so hard that the sound of it echoed around them. The only way out was through a stone doorway. The twins peered inside and saw a long hallway. At one end was a spiral staircase leading down to the dungeon, they assumed. At the other was a spiral staircase leading up. They chose the stair leading up. It led straight to another hall with a steamy odor in the air. It was very humid inside this part of the palace, and the twins soon walked by an open door and saw why. "Look," said Alex, "it's the laundry room." The room was full of large, steaming tubs of water, and several garments and sheets were hung up to dry around the room. It was past working hours, so the room was empty. I have an idea, Alex said, and darted inside the room. What are you doing, Alex? Connor asked. She started digging through a pile of what Connor hoped were clean clothes and linens. If the grounds outside are any indication, I bet the halls of this palace are swarming with soldiers. I bet you can guess what she's looking for in the bag of laundry. And, said Connor, we're going to seem very suspicious walking around soaked to the bone in our t-shirts and jeans, she explained. She pulled out 2 dresses and 2 lacy caps from the basket. No way, Connor said, realizing what she intended to do with them. Absolutely not. He was not going to wear a dress, was he? The guys at school, wait a second. Connor, put your pride aside and get dressed. We've come way too far to get caught now, she said, pulling one of the dresses over her head. The guys at school can never know about this, Connor said, with a very serious face. If your friends find out you traveled into the fairy world, I doubt this will be what they are most interested in hearing about, Alex said. The twins got dressed and looked almost identical in the same outfit. They wrapped their wet clothes and bags in towels and then carried the towels to look busy, like they're taking them to the bathroom or something. They journeyed higher and higher into the palace, perfectly disguised as 2 maids working a night shift. The palace had beautiful marble floors and walls on the inside as well. The stained glass windows were even more beautiful, with moonlight shining through. Alex was right. Every hall and corridor was under constant watch by the guards. So Connor was too embarrassed to look at any of them in the eye. He did find a few gold coins in the pocket of his maid's uniform, however, which made him feel kind of better. Alex and Connor found the grand staircase in the middle of the palace. They climbed it to the 2nd floor and began scanning the halls for a portrait of the evil queen. Like Cinderella's palace, there were portraits of past rulers framed on the walls and statues of all the 7 dwarfs that had helped Snow White. How do you know what the evil queen looks like? Connor asked. We've never seen her before. We'll just have to guess, Alex said. They walked past a portrait of a woman sitting in the garden. All the plants and flowers were bright around here, but she wore a long, dark gown. The woman was beautiful, but she had a blank, cold look on her face. That's her, said Alex. There was something about the woman's eyes in the portrait that made Alex sure of it. They were beautiful, but they seemed so empty, as if all the happiness had been drained out of her soul. Alex waited for 2 soldiers to leave the hall and then tried pulling on the portrait. It was stuck. She pulled harder and harder, and still it wouldn't budge. Are you sure that's it? Connor said. 100%, said Alex. She gave it another good tug, and the portrait swung away from the wall like an open door. Behind the portrait was a wooden ladder that went up to the 3rd floor. Nice one, Connor said, and gave his sister a high five. The twins climbed up the ladder and found the back of another secret door. The twins entered the storage chamber behind an exact replica of the portrait they had just gone through on the 2nd floor. The whole room was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets, old trunks and chests. The portraits the twins had climbed through was the only painting hanging on the walls. The rest were stacked in piles against the room, around the walls in the room. The room was long and had a set of heavy double doors at one end and a raised platform with a curtain around it at the other. The twins knew without a doubt that this place was where the evil queen had kept her magic mirrors. There was a large counter with tubes and vials and glass containers. They had all been emptied out, but the twins knew it must have been where the evil queen had kept her poisons. This room gives me the creeps, Connor said. It looks like no one has been in here for years. I don't see the glass coffin anywhere, Alex said. She started uncovering the furniture, trying to find it, but it wasn't in the room. The coffin isn't here, she said, feeling a rush of panic come over her. Let's just look around. Look around for what? Connor asked. For anything, yelled Alex, frustrated and upset. Try and find anything that says where the glass coffin might have been taken. The twins searched the room from top to bottom. They looked through all the trunks and cases, but found nothing that gave any sign of where it might be. There were so many years of memories packed away in this room, it was impossible to tell what had belonged to the evil queen or to Cinderella or Snow White or to the rulers before them. Alex was going through a stack of parchments, and she found interesting handwritten letters among them that she couldn't help but read. The first letter had a masculine handwriting and said, Dear Evely, I love you more than a bird loves the morning sun. Every second I'm away from you is a moment wasted. I am yours forever, Mira. The next was written by a woman and said, Dearest Mira, you are the last thing I think about before I sleep and the first thing I think about when I awake. And the time in between is filled with longing to be in your arms. My heart is yours and yours alone. Evely. The letters between the two lovers continued. The handwriting on the next letter seemed rushed. Evely, it is the cruelest punishment possible to be kept from you. Not being able to touch your skin or kiss your lips has made my soul hurt. I am hollow without you. I will save you from this wickedness. I swear it. Mira. Okay, the rest of chapter 15 is going to be in the next video. This one's 17 minutes long.